Welcome, seekers and visionaries, to Oracle Mountain Chats. Here on this sacred virtual peak, we gather a space for oracles to share their wisdom, their visions, and their craft. It all began with a calling I could not ignore. One day, within a vision, I held this conch shell in my hands, and as I blew its resonant note into the world, I felt its vibration ripple across unseen realms. It was a summons, a signal to fellow oracles scattered near and far. I saw that we were on a mountain, vast and towering, reaching into the heavens. At its base, the world buzzed with life, people moving, creating, searching. Yet at the summit, there was stillness, clarity, and a circle of light. There, oracles stood, their gaze focused both outward and inward. They spoke of the energies they felt, the shifts they saw, and the whispers of the unseen. They weren't above the world, they were its witnesses and its guides. From this vision, OracleFest was born, a celebration of connection, insight, and the timeless wisdom that flows through us all. The message was clear. It is time. Time to meet upon this sacred mountain, to share what we hear, feel, and see. Time to bring the wisdom of the divine to a world that is yearning for its guidance. Through OracleFest, we've created a movement of community, all yearning to empower their own inner oracle. And here in Oracle Mountain Chats, we bring that spirit into a more intimate space. This is where the oracles gather to reflect, exchange ideas, and to explore what wishes to come through in the moment. This mountain is more than stone and sky. It is a meeting place of the realms, a threshold between seen and unseen, known and unknown. Here we gather as oracles to share the visions Spirit whispers to us, to speak of the energy currents flowing through nature and humanity, and to help guide those who seek answers in a world that often feels lost. So grab a seat, breathe in the mountain air, and join us as we begin today's chat. Whether it's an energy reading, a conversation about our craft, our path, or simply sharing a perspective on the world below, this is where we wait for more oracles to join us on the mountain. What wisdom will the mountain bring us today? Let's find out together. Step into this sacred space where the wisdom of the ages converges with the questions of the present. Okay, here we find ourselves back again on Oracle Mountain. This time we are joined by Laura Tempest Zakroff, who is an artist and an author and a many a label, many a thing, same way I am. We were both laughing before we got started here about how many things we love to do. I also love doing too much, maybe too much to someone else's perspective, right amount for me. And yeah, we're going to talk about, I'm guessing, a bunch of different things today because we're both creative people. So we're probably going to go on many a tangent, a spaghetti tangent, as Michelle Matuza said. But first, I just wanted to welcome you. Thank you for being a part of OracleFest and also bringing art and creativity to OracleFest. It feels very important to me that that belonged there. So thank you for being here on Oracle Mountain.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Yeah, beautiful. So I would love, before we kind of get into the bigger things, I just really want to do this also so that neither of us forget. If you could show everyone this really cool Sigil Witchery book, and Oracle deck that you've created, and explain to us like a bit how it works.
So this is the Sigil Witchery Oracle. It's very, very shiny.
Very shiny. So magical.
It's so magical. It's, oh my gosh. You know, holographs. Yay.
Yeah, love
So like regress to a 12-year-old. I'm like, oh, holograms. Oh yay.
Yeah, I get that way with gold edges too. Those gold edges on cards. Oof. Yeah.
Shiny. So the Sigil Witchery Oracle is based off of my best-selling book, Sigil Witchery. which is all about my method of crafting sigils. And there's also a companion book to that, Visual Alchemy, which is about getting over our fears of making art and seeing art all around us. And I realized after teaching sigil witchery hundreds of times to thousands of people that there are certain things that people struggle with consistently again and again. Like we all have different brains and we work in different ways, but one of the things that folks often say is like, I don't know any symbols, I don't know any shapes, I don't know any marks. I'm like, but you do. But you do. We all do. And my job is to help you see those and consider what is the meaning? What is that personal meaning for you? And how would you include that or incorporate that into your practice? So I made a deck.
Beautiful. I love
Yeah.
it. So it's like a drawing spiritual practice that comes with guides and it incorporates then in the rest of your life because you'll have to be on the lookout for signs and symbols, I'm assuming.
Yes, yes. Like once you see it, like people are like, "Oh my God, they're all around." I'm like, yes, 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 it's fine, it's fine,
Yes,
it's good.
you can't
Yes.
unsee it. Yeah, exactly. I think that happens often to me too. If I'm bringing like a power animal for someone back, and then they say, "Oh my gosh, the amount of times I've seen an owl this week," and you go, "Yeah, well, maybe there was that many owls before, but now you see them so clearly you can't unsee it." Oh, I love that. I love that. So we were talking a little bit about this because obviously it's something that's very important to you, which is that people would empower their intuition by also exploring their creativity, right? And that there is a vast, huge expanse of untapped ideas and imagination. So what brought you to bringing creativity and art along with spirituality and like why is that connection so important for you?
Well, I've been an artist for pretty much most of my life, and so we're going on over 4 decades of that. And so that's always been an integral part of how I interact with the world and how I express myself. And I consider it my primary form of magic. When people go, "Oh, what kind of spellcraft do you do? Is it candles? Is it herbs?" Like art. I do art. That's the thing. And teaching art, whether in a magical context or just out in the world, right, to children, to teenagers, to the people the same age, to senior citizens, everybody can benefit from art. Art is accessible, it is for everyone, even though our society has been like, art, it's for the museums and the galleries and the special people. Everything else is just, craft. Like that is denigrating to craft as well. But art is one of those things that has gotten to us where we are as human beings. Our ability to be creative, to problem solve, to express, to communicate. All of those things are wrapped up in our ability to make art.
Right, because a lot of the time too, art can tap into things that people hadn't even tapped into beforehand. It's an interesting, it's got me all swirly now that I'm thinking about it more directly because it's interesting to think of probably how many artists throughout time have credited spirits as part of like doing their work as well. Like there's this older idea that like genius is just a spirit that overtakes you, right? And then leaves just as quickly as it came. And so we're blessed by being possessed for like a certain amount of time in order to generate whatever brilliance is going to come out of us, that light form, that spirit, inspiration. And then, there's probably lots of people, I know myself included, when I write music, I don't even feel like I'm there. I feel like it's just kind of coming through me. And so, how would you describe this? There's like someone, us here in the middle, but you're doing magic. But there's also a connection behind or with you or above you or supporting you in some kind of way, right? In doing that, how does that translate for you?
There's a whole bunch of different layers depending on how you want to see that
Yeah.
spirit. And is it something you're exploring generally for yourself? Then it's an aspect of yourself, right? So you can look at, if you look at the three soul or the three cauldron idea of the spirit, right? That there's our animal self, our ego self, and then there is the spiritual, the one that's connected to the greater, right? Like they're all us,
Yes.
they're all us. So, but this is the one we might use to phone other things as well. So part of it is connecting to who we are and at a deeper level spiritually. But art can be a really powerful tool to tap into our ancestors, to tap into plant spirits, animal spirits, to work with deities, all of these different levels of, of the, it's the internet up here, right? It's
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we were saying it's like how expansive is that? I basically just said before we started here, like the imagination land is just as vast as the non-ordinary realm that the shamanic, folk would go into, or
Mhm.
this like endless vast array of it's just the frequency of all things out in the galaxies even. Like it's there's no end to it. And there's so much need for it in the world today. I think the need is extremely high because so many people are craving something that connects them to what's deeper and what's authentic to them or for them. So the more art you see that kind of feels like it reaches that place in you, hopefully the more then spiritually open, like the more open-minded we can become. It kind of has this dual force. Like the artist creates something, but also you see art, you witness art, and you interact with art, and then it can open you up as well.
Right. It's all communication, right? So whether we're doing visual art or music or we're doing play or poetry or writing a story, that's all even dance. Dance is also
Mhm.
communication. So if we are able to get over our fears, right? The fears of making art that, oh, it has to be perfect, it has to be this, I have to maintain whatever insane arbitrary standard society has set for those things. We get over that and we discover ourselves and we discover each other. Right? And that opens up empathy. It opens up our ability to see other people's stories and connect with them and understand where we are the same and where we are different and how that's both amazing and beautiful. So I think that's the thing is that art breaks down those barriers. It breaks down our barriers in order for us to see who we are, where we can go with ourselves and where we've been, and to see each other, to really truly see each other rather than a 2-second little video blip somewhere or, screenshot or whatever it is where we've just flattened everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes the world a lot more vibrant, doesn't it? Yeah.
Mhm.
I had that thought the other day, actually. I was thinking, oh, I'm really so I feel so grateful that my parents encouraged certain art forms when I was younger because I mean, it just provides less barriers mentally because as adults, we do walk through a lot of limitations and barriers to just expressing ourselves, let alone communicating with ourselves creatively enough to share that with the world too.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it makes sense. There's a lot of communication changing as well in today's world with us going online and things, and that there's something so delightfully tangible about some of sigil drawing. You can do it on an iPad, you can do it on the computer, and there's nothing that's going to change that. um there is something really lovely and delightful about doing things in the 3D though, isn't there? And just to say I've got a piece of paper and I'm out in nature and I saw that symbol and so now I've got this idea, and there's this inspiration moment that comes through for someone as well. Um, there's a something that speaks to me too. Sometimes we can think of like this 3D and natural world as limited, but it is also just as expansive and as abundant. And so I'm glad you brought up the three cauldrons and that this cauldron, even the ego, yeah, it's fully here. It's all a part of who we are. It's all a part of, yeah, us existing. Um, I sense that more and more people who are opening up their spirituality are also going to be weaving in the creativity with that. Like there's just a natural, is it because you think probably, I wonder, is it those limitations going down on the creative side? Does that also help with connecting to someone's intuition or their sense of magic and play as well?
Yeah, and the more that we can deconstruct these false barriers, and restrictive ideas about what human beings are and what the world is and what our connection is to it, it's really profound. And bringing that into the physical aspect of it, right? It's reconnecting to the natural world, and seeing the relationships that we have between the trees, the plants, the animals, but also the tools that we're using, to use a pencil, to get into charcoal, to use paint, to sculpt with clay, to use fiber. And you begin to realize that all of these things have a history and there's a connection, there's a finite amount of them. and what happens in the moment and the expression. Like there's so many different layers, but it also speaks to being a human being in that we are here doing physical things for a reason, right? And I think that art helps us tap into the ritual of being present, and to be able to connect further to that and to draw a sigil. Like, people are like, oh, you should go make a sigil for that or this or that. I'm like, I'm giving you the method so you can do the thing, because this is your voice, your expression. Like it doesn't do you any good for me to be like, here, let me just, this is what's in your head. Boom. Like I'm not in your head. I'm not in your head. I'm not where you live. I'm not dealing with your problems. And so that's why it's important, I think, for people to be able to own up to, I can do the thing. Even if I'm not great at it, I'm going to give it a try, because that is another, fence that we have to get over. Like you can do the thing.
Yeah, like, and you can do it yourself with guidance, but it comes from you and with you as well, right? Like that you chose the guidance. Because sometimes people think it's a cop out even looking for training, and then that holds them back too. Like think of the amount of people who said, "Oh, I really want to paint," and they've never painted, because they just don't trust themselves to go find a teacher and then allow what's after that door, and after that door, as they go down. What are some other I'm going to call them self-imposed limitations, but I know sometimes they're societally imposed. But what are some other limitations and things that that you notice a lot from this? Because it is so curious to see. This connects very well to intuition, and opening up that source of ourselves.
In addition to teaching art and magic, I teach dance. And if there are lots of limitations people put on about what magic is and what art is, anything involving the body,
Yeah.
it's a whole other mess. So many people, if I had $1 for every time someone said, oh, I really want to take this dance class, but I'm going to wait until I lose weight, or I'm going to wait until I need this or that. Like, no, you have a body now. Do the thing now. It doesn't matter. We all have different levels of ability that we're going to approach the thing. The thing is movement, right? I'm not asking people to like, here's this perfect choreography that you need to go do on stage in front of thousands of people. Like, no, I want you to discover your breath. I want you to realize how you can feel in just considering how the movement feels inside your body versus what it looks like. And to see that as an entry point to so much more, again, of being present in our bodies. But there, people are just terrified. And I'm an introvert, so I generally it's just to be like, I'm gonna go do something in front of a whole bunch of people. Here we are, like that doesn't is not normally my happy place. But to get people up and realize that there is joy in dance and movement and across a whole wide variety of bodies and abilities, like once you've tackled that, then you are starting to break down all of those different constructions about what body should do and whose body should do it, and what equipment that you should have when you're doing that, and what you should look like and what's acceptable, like all that, blow it up.
Right, right. And then when you're taking down that body-based conditioning, probably allows you to trust yourself and even trust your body a bit more. And then, when people are learning a new art form, I always think often it's like trusting your body to also like learn a new skill, like to learn a new thing, because there's different movements. And I'm like, man, this does not feel as easy as it did when I was doing it every day in class as a kid.
Mhm.
Right. And so even just remembering, hey, you weren't always good at things. Remember those crayon drawings you did? Well, why are you expecting after time away it's gonna, or there's even a next barrier, because it's totally nice to say you want to be a professional ballet dancer and you've worked, it's totally great, but it's just not the same thing as the idea of moving for the sake of connecting, right? And for the sake
Yes.
of reconnecting to who you are and being in your own body. There's a lot of shamanic workers and throughout history, the shamans who would dance as a way of channeling visions,
Mhm.
because it frees you up, right? You're not attached to the body, and the body's saying, I'm hungry, and the body's sitting here on this stump for too long, and the body's doing this. And, the body has a lot to say. When you're paying attention to it, it can say quite a lot. And it almost, if you're dancing to free up your spirit, you're actually dancing to be so connected to your body that it no longer influences you to interrupt the natural state of what's coming through. I've found that time and time again that I'll dance and then I'll lay there on the floor or the grass usually with like all these floods of visions and things coming in through because I've shaken it all loose. Like there's something really to that. And so I love also that you would combine, you're already working on these ideas of helping people break out of the limitations of their mind, but then the body the dance has to come in there at some point because it is this, it's a breakaway point from the way that you've always been doing things. And it gives your body and brain a chance to have like a new pattern even of how it works.
When you consider rhythms, right? Rhythms and the mathematics of rhythms, and trance, right? And the different kinds of trance, like shamanic trance, for that specific type of thing, many different groups all around the world do that. But then you also have ones that are done for appeasement to get rid of spirits or to balance something out, or it can be for bringing blessings and joy to village. And it's like, because of that stamina and the rhythm and relaxing into it, you can go for so much longer than you could expect because you're not all up in here. You just let the body do its thing. It's already, your heart's already doing it. You already have the ebb and flow of the ocean in your body. Like, let the waves go.
Totally. And isn't that like the craving a lot of people have with spirit connection is to feel like they can just let life go and they can actually just embrace what is. And they can have a sense that there's something bigger and something unifying all of us or supporting all of us, which you totally get in dance. If anyone's ever been to like these ecstatic dance events, I mean, you do feel at one with everyone at some point if you've gotten out of that self-judgment. If you can let yourself be in the moment, suddenly you're a part of this moment with all these other bouncing moments around them.
Right.
Or maybe karate chopping or whatever anyone else is choosing to get up to. I have this funny memory of taking someone who had never seen a whole bunch of hippies hanging out in one area, right? And I mean, lots more than hippies, but also different alternative healing practitioners and like the actual there was maybe 40 people all around, and then these dances started happening, right? There'd be people standing around the fire and they're just doing a little boogie, or there is actually a DJ at some point and there's dancing happening. But these people don't dance the way that this person was used to seeing people dance, because we're used to seeing people kind of dance sort of hold up and holding a drink in the corner and trying to impress someone or trying to angle yourself right, or yeah, exactly, it's this stiff awkward thing unless you've really been in some different circles, unless you've engaged with different. And even if you come from a background of dance training, there can still be that. I've had clients who say, oh, I'm dancing, but I'm not dancing from the way you're talking about dancing, Kate. And so it was so fascinating to me. This person at that event was like, that was really cool. They didn't even join in the dancing, but by watching these people lose the inhibitions that this person thinks, oh, well, that's just naturally how we are. They were so relaxed just being around that energy. So you think of the ripple effect that it has if you just dance like that in your room, but then you walk throughout your whole day with this vibration that you're carrying and this way about you that people go, oh, there's something different happening over that way. And that's
It's
sometimes,
that communication, right? You
yes.
like to see it. And that's, I love watching people dance more than anything, when you just like, it's like no judgment. Like, it doesn't matter where the rhythm is at this point. People are
Yep.
just blissing out and doing their thing. And I'm like, wow, it's amazing and it's beautiful.
That must be what draws people to these festivals too, right? Like is watching. There's a few people who will in the crowd be like, "Wow, we don't know what they're doing." That's really, it's really relaxing for us, I would think. It kind of reminds us that all those things we thought were important maybe don't have as much importance as we gave them. It's yeah, that deconditioning. I think I've been deconditioned on some of those things for a little too long now. Maybe we've got to add some conditions at some point. But it's good. It does inspire people to free themselves up in some kind of way. That person who watched that dancing might then go home and do a doodle on a scrap piece of paper that they haven't thought about doing that since high school, and you don't know what kind of meaning that would have for that person, right? So it's beautiful, inspirational work that you're doing, even just by trying to change people's thoughts on well, just their perspectives on where they have to have those limitations. Now, what helps people get out of these limitations quickly, would you say?
Uh,
Next step.
I find humor. So when I'm teaching dance, I've written about this too in the Anatomy of a Witch. I've developed this little method of getting people into the body very quickly. And it's like addressing their feet and saying, "Hello, feet," and like getting a whole bunch of like 100 adults to be like, "Hello, feet," like
Yeah.
yes, yes, you're on board. We're going with this, right?
Amazing.
It's just to acknowledge like, when was the last time you said hello to your feet? Like
Right. And take
it's
yourself less seriously, right?
right.
Because it's the taking ourselves seriously that got us out into this mess of disconnection, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, oh, hey feet. And then do they move up the body, say hello to other
Yeah, so we do move up. I have a series of animals that are like imaginary animals that people play with. Like,
great.
so my infamous ones are the wall kittens, which is a stack of sleeping kittens on either side of you that you reach out and pet.
Oh my gosh.
And it's amazing, like the transformation in people, whether they are brand new to dance or people who are been studying dance for a while but still haven't truly connected to their bodies because there's so much about choreography. You're like, oh,
Right.
step 1, 2, 3, we can do this, do that there, do that thing. Like you're not dancing. Piss people off to say, well, like, but you're not dancing if you are thinking about it in just a series and not being present
Right.
and
You're
listening.
executing.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
you're doing the thing, you are moving,
You're not
but
feeling it.
but you're not. Yeah, it's like you're that's like a state of panic. Like it is. It's a high state of anxiety to be
Yeah.
like, instead of going, trust my body that it knows the pattern, that it's going to do the thing,
Hmm.
and that I can execute it more effectively because I'm thinking about those kittens and I'm reaching out and extending instead of looking like I have Tyrannosaurus Rex arms.
Right, right. Well, and that's the state of tension, right? The
Yeah,
stress that we hold. It's, yeah, absolutely. I think of the amount of friends in the last few months who've told me that's how they sleep, right? They sleep like
yeah, like
yeah, right. It's we're in a state of stress. There's a lot of things to be stressed out about. And so I really love, I mean, yeah, that's understatement of the century. Hey, Kate, a lot of things to be stressed out about today. But I think there's something so interesting you said closer to the beginning, which is that it brings you into a state of presence to even do art, right? You're not doing art from the future,
right.
right? And so your mind isn't in that place. And if it is in that place, it gets difficult to do the art, right? It gets difficult to be present with it. And so I think there's something very interesting to people if they're struggling to do art, could also be about finding a state of presence, like a moment, right? That, like, what are quick ways that you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about the one person listening to this on YouTube who's like, it's been so many years since I've done anything. And how this could really open a door for them with their spirituality if they're also feeling limited in that way to open up the creativity, barriers. And so what are some ways that you find people maybe returning to that creative self more often? How do you see that? Because you would have more experience than I would seeing this little transition here.
So the methods to get there, for example, like so with like the new deck, like looking at these symbols, I say, okay, pick a circle, pick, a wiggly line, whatever it is, and just start drawing it. Not without, like I gotta plan it out, it has to be precise. It's let me just maybe put music on and find within the music where this circle is and just draw on top of it. Like it doesn't matter what it looks like, right? That's going
Mm-hmm.
back to the present thing.
Yeah.
People are so concerned that the end result isn't going to look right. It's like, again, if you're looking down there, you're missing all the scenery. You're missing all the
Yeah.
possibilities here.
Right.
So allowing yourself to doodle and to play, whether it's automatic drawing, automatic writing,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and you can even apply that to the body to be like, all right, I'm only going to move in circles, whether I'm going to dance in a circle or I'm going to think about making little circles this way, even if had limited mobility and I'm just doing it in my palm
Yeah.
because that's all I can do, right? Like
Just a
a
good
little tiny,
neck bop going.
yeah,
Right.
right. Even
Yep.
how I look, right? Like if you only had
Yes.
your
just
eyes,
eyes. You could still
right?
be moving the eyes in some, but it's about the experience from one point in the movement to the other point in the movement, the pauses and all that. I mean, that's the richness of life, is even just the eye movement aspect of that. Yeah, I love that accessibility comment as well, because we don't want anyone to feel limited in their ability to express. Absolutely, absolutely. Even from the body, even if there are some other physical limitations that way. The funny one for me, because I hear this, I in the empath energetics program we do shadow work and then light work, and as their transition from shadow to light, they got to create an art piece, and every single time we get for 2 months, I'm telling them, by the way, it doesn't matter if you're good. I know you're going to tell yourself that it does matter, but it doesn't matter. So just keep hearing me. This does not matter. Like, good is so relative. Good doesn't exist, and all these things. And I can say, like, it's really just about the process. The pass fail metric is, did you make art, and did you know that it connected to your shadow archetype, and how? That's it. Right. There's no other, and even that metric of how it connects, I'm fairly flexible with.
Right. You
Right.
might
That
even not understand it until later, that you're like, oh,
it often happens. It happens
there
with
it is.
myself, right? I'll make an art piece and be like, oh, I didn't think about that. I just drew it because that's what I was doing and I needed to do it for this class, and what have you. And there's something so magic about that in between and the uncertainty, right? That actually we face uncertainty every time we come to an art piece. We don't know how it's going to look in the end. We face up, okay, well, let's see what it wants to be. And that idea helps me a lot personally, because I'll see an idea as larger than myself, and therefore I'm just trying to step out of the way.
Right. You can't be like, I've got to duplicate this thing. People are like, oh, well, they look at my paintings, like, how did you come up with this? I'm like, well, I had a vision,
Yep.
but I went
Yep.
on a journey, right? Like, there,
Exactly.
there's no point in just like photocopying that exact image out. Like, it should change, because
Yes.
I think that's a misconception that so many people have about art, is that artists have this photographic image of exactly how things are going to turn out, and then it comes out exactly like that. It's like, no,
Right.
no, go on the
Right.
journey, go explore, discover things, make mistakes. You'll learn more in the process, and and you can come back to it again and again. It's not a, oh, well, I painted a rose, I'm done.
Yeah, it's interesting, that limitation. I don't know how to describe that one, but I see it come up a lot where people, it's not the I'm not a good artist, and it's not that it has to look exactly this. It's like ideas don't come to me often, and it's a one and done thing, or if I mess it up, then that's it and I won't have another idea. Like, it's a very, the limit on ideas in people's minds is scary, actually, because it's endless. It's so endless. What actual ideas? I mean, ideas are dime a dozen. The more you explore in that world, the more you receive. I think the more you understand that. But think of if you'd been doing something for a long time where no one really cared about if you had fresh ideas, no one really cared if you were talking about some vision you had. So you kept it all yourself. And then that internal place gets more and more limited, because your brain thinks, well, no one cares about this anyway, because that's what you've told me. Right. And how sad that is. And so also it's like, well, who needs to care about this? And who needs to care about it is also you, because you're the one engaging with that process. And even if it was only taken for self-healing, that would do a huge, like, vibration up level for the world, just taking that barrier down, because it's the right thing to do to be able to more freely express yourself. Like, we all feel that. We all want that in some kind of way. Like, when I was in college, I was going through a tough time, and I started doing finger painting, because I hated messes. I wanted everything to look a certain way. I really was so ridden with anxiety from wanting things to go the way I was told and the way I think they should go, so that everything happens in a line, right? How life does not work. And so I was going against the grain with my beliefs of what I wanted. And it was stressing me out, because it's stressful to want everything to be in a line if it's not. And I would do this art, and if it started becoming something, if I started making a perfect sunny sunshine tree, and then that was going to look great on my wall, right, then I had a rule with myself that I had to stick my whole hand in it and move around the paint and then mess it up. And oh my goodness, I cannot describe to you how uncomfortable it was for me at that time. And now I'm the type of person, honestly, it's so funny, people would send me like these people doing yoga or dance on these huge canvases with paint. You've seen this before on the internet. So people will send me this and say, I could see you doing this type of thing. I'm like, wow, tell that to my 20-year-old self who was crying at the thought of messing up a finger paint that she'd agreed with herself was for the process of healing. Right, but it's these
Right.
little funny, shoved in your room with your emotions things that make the real differences on how anyone now expresses. They experience my energy as way more likely to do something like that because I've tested it and shown that I am more
Right.
likely to do that, actually, even though it was really uncomfortable.
Those tissue thin little barriers again that we put on ourselves. It's like we just break it, just rip it. Like, like it's again, it's the, preserving the wrapping paper. Like,
It is like that.
no, rip it, let it be. Then you can put it in the fire.
It was just wrapping paper. Yeah, exactly. The gift was hidden and underneath all that. You know what's
Yes.
so funny you say that, Laura? I actually still am one of these people who wants to
Yeah.
preserve the wrapping, and I don't know why I do it.
And then it goes and sits in the closet, and you're like, it's just
Yeah,
really pretty paper. Like, what are you going to do with it, right? Like,
totally. But I'm
unless
one of
you,
these people who I don't even wrap my gifts anymore. But if I'm given a gift, I'm saving the paper for whoever. It's such a backwards logic because I actually wrap my gifts in like scarves and like other things or reusable bags because hey,
right?
they're in the house anyway. You might as well use them and then say
Yes.
this is now for Christmas. I don't know what my parents think of that, but they let me be at this point.
Like, oh,
Yeah, that's nice.
that's
That's
our
nice.
child.
Well, the gift's inside still, so it's fine.
Right.
But that's it. The gift is really actually underneath all those. It's the in between, and it's in the pushing the edge of that uncertainty that we find ourselves like amazed. And I think a lot of people in this today's world feel more disillusioned because we have more information at our hands, whereas in the past we didn't know necessarily about all the atrocities of things. Now we're like front and center. It's on our news feeds in the morning, and we know how tough the world is. That there's something that comes through art that has a bit of like hope because it connects all of us, and there's this language that is like beyond the words. And so I could see an art piece from Mexico and feel something so deeply, and it connects me to the idea that someone else in the world has a feeling that is imitated in some way, shown by this physical representation. And since we're in a world where seeing is believing, then actually that allows us to believe in something that's much deeper. So I really enjoy this idea that art is a gateway for us clearing the whole seeing is believing thing, but also like we kind of have to lean on it in the meantime of that, which I think is so cool. Even seeing someone dance, like you say, you'd love watching people just let loose because how thrilling is that to witness? And you don't even have to be the one dancing to get the
No.
energy exchange of that.
It makes me think. So I've been reading The Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer, which is her latest. It's talking about the gift economy,
Mm.
and just the cycle of natural gifts. And it had got me thinking about, and how art can change culture for the better, like how you can redesign culture through art. And when we focus on, and it's not spiritual bypassing, but like, let's only look at the pretty things. But like, when you again look at that news cycle, like news cycle profits by the worst news ever, that the people are the worst people ever. And they're like, look how terrible people are being. Like, we're making money off this. Look, more terrible people. But there's far more amazing, wonderful, kind, caring people in the world. And what if we focus more on being able to highlight that art and honoring that art when we see it, and honoring the people who are doing good work in all, whether it is through the visual arts or through farming, or like anything that human beings are doing where we're giving back to each other in so many different ways, like that can change culture, like to teach people to honor and recognize and see it and realize how good it makes them feel too, and then they do the thing, like it just continues on. That's where my brain's been the last few days.
I love that. And it makes so much sense and really lines up also to how I've been feeling with OracleFest is like empowering people to have that trust in their intuition and to seek deeper meaning and to connect with other people who are caring about living in this way and along with these beliefs. Because when we get reminded of it, we go, oh yeah, that is more comfortable. Oh yeah, I do actually have more joy when I just dance around. And so whatever was keeping me from that must not be the thing that brings me joy.
Yep.
It's these simple equations start coming in, but we have to have that experience. And I think art gives us an experience that reminds us of what is beyond and what is deeper within ourselves and outside of ourselves. And even if we're, doing art because of our shadows and our icky aspects, it's like we're facing and we're feeling that and we're actually in the experience. It's why a lot of people will avoid doing it until the night before, because we are kind of like not really wanting that experience. We're kind of wanting to avoid that discomfort, but it pushes you up time and time again into that. And then how freeing it is on the other side of that discomfort, rather than still hanging on the same side of it, right? When you avoid something your soul is calling for, some art that is just longing to be made in the world, you're in the discomfort until it's made. Right. I feel often like there's only relief once the art is actually okay, that's what it wants to be for now, right? It's in that after point. So if people aren't getting to that point, it's like, oh, we're stacking on a lot of discomfort over time, and a lot of like, do you ever have that sense? I'm sure you do, where it feels like something's wanting to find its way through you, so it's almost bursting, and you have to like, there's like a pressure valve. You start doing the art, and then, oh, okay, finally this is like coming out in some way, if it's been just conceptualizing. Do you have that happen to you?
Yeah, it's the pregnancy of ideas, right?
That's
Like
it.
you're like, oh, you're very excited about it when it's small, and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and you're
The
just like,
pressure builds, and then you're like, now
yeah,
I'm uncomfortable, and we just got to have this baby now.
yeah, like I'm tired of going to the bathroom. Let's just get it out.
I'm peeing way too much now. Let's go. It's funny. It's not the first time birth has come up on one of these calls, and I'm sure it won't be the last, because there is something very fitting about the spiritual and the creative journey, I think, of birthing something. And it's I think there's a lot of people can also understand just the feeling of rising tension, that rising tension over time. Are you just climatizing and adjusting to it, and then your norm becomes more and more stressful and tense, and then you notice, okay, we have this one moment where you're doodling because you're a bit stressed out, and you actually feel like that pressure valve has kind of released a little bit, and trying to understand where all these pressure valves, because really our natural state is a lot more a lot more relaxed and embracing of what is, because it keeps us sharp. When we can embrace what is, we're not anticipating, then we're also not leaving ourselves vulnerable. I actually think it's not very safe for us to be like always in this, anticipatory kind of fear space. So I hope it helps strengthen our hearts, and allows us to all act from that place of connection, to have more and more experiences with creativity and with spirituality as well. And the combination, which is so brilliant, that you're bringing to us. Yeah.
Relax our nervous systems, and then we can create and connect.
Exactly. Maybe we need like a 5-minute dance party as we jump into OracleFest. We are going to have a bit of, I mean, there's going to be moments for dancing, but it'd be great. Maybe that's something we weave in the future, is to have some dance mode engaged in there somewhere as well. Is there anything else that's floating on your mind? I know we've grabbed a few things that have been on your mind. The gift economy, which I love. I think that's beautiful to think of how we all share and support each other, that we value intuition and spirituality and art, right? In a higher place. I think is important for all of us in community to feel better together.
Yeah, the connection. That's the thing, right? It's about interconnectivity. People ask me like, what is witchcraft? And like, witchcraft is the connection of the seen and the unseen worlds, and understanding that everything is connected.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that means as a practitioner of magical, practitioner of any sort of thing, right? You are connected to everyone around you, and to the spirits, to all of those things. Like, you're not alone, not in a creepy way. Like, no, but I think that's a huge comfort, because most people do feel very much alone, and disconnected. So taking it to the communal level, and that's another thing that I think is key for us to look for, particularly this year and moving forward, is how do we continue to build community and connect with each other, outside of, internet is great, but there are many forms that can take. What can we do to connect in our local communities, and in our own backyards of what's going on, and to take that at several different levels. And that, what that does for our nervous system and our psychology and our levels of anxiety is huge. Like we will feel better despite everything else that's going on because we're forging those connections.
Absolutely. And taking all this information we're exposed to that we've chosen to interact with, and then bringing that into the world as well, held within us, and having this like lighting the torch for others and having this positive influence, this ripple effect. So now when we do these in-person Oracle Fest events, we're going to have a movement and a creative aspect to it, because you've just proven the point so well to me that it's like a necessary part of it. But I think that makes sense. That's why that was also in festivals when you see that in person, because we're looking for these uniting and community based experiences. I know for me, I've been really fascinated with community healing circles. It's been like a large area of study for me in the last couple of years, because I think, well, that's what we're really craving, is getting together and helping each other. But we're still looking for the guides, and we're still looking for the people who are going to be involved, and there's so much more. And so if I could also invite anyone who's listening, that if you find yourself particularly inspired, that you find at least one other person to share that inspiration with, so that we keep lighting, like everyone is like a candle and we're just relighting and relighting, and you lean over to this person because they got a little more flame, then you lean over to that guy because they had a little less, and that we're doing our best. That's not what we're doing, but it's a cute little image.
It's going to like Lord of the Rings with the fires on the mountain, like setting off the signals, right?
So much better. That was like, it's a perfect note for us to end on as well. This is what we're doing, is lighting the way. And we've also been lit by people in our past too, and really respecting that way, this circular way that we continue weaving. So I so feel that. I'm so excited for people to hear more from you and learn more from you, and maybe start doing some of their own art and mystical practices and magical practices all together, and weaving that in and exploring their creativity alongside their spirituality and their intuition. Anything else you'd like to add in before we end off today?
I think that's it. I'm just very excited to work with folks and see where this goes.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we're excited to have you. So yeah, you can go check out Laura, Tempest Zakroff on the OracleFest.com site. We're going live January 31st to February 2nd for our first Oracle Fest online 2025.